Okay, hi AP Chemistry class. This is the video for Tuesday evening, September the 17th. It has to do with something called dimensional analysis. We're going to talk briefly about what this is and practice it in class tomorrow. So, dimensional analysis is a method of solving chemistry problems by arranging the units of measure so that they cancel to give the desired answer. It's a critical skill to learn. You can't solve chemistry problems without getting good at doing this. We'll look at a few examples that don't involve chemistry. So let's start with one that you should be familiar with, these units of measure. How many inches in 1 yard? So we're just dealing with the common units of measure that we use here in the United States. So the first thing you need to have is you need to have conversion factors, which relates first of all inches to feet and then feet to yards. And when you have a conversion factor, so 12 inches equals 1 foot, you can write that as one of two ratios. 12 inches per every 1 foot, or 1 foot for every 12 inches. Those are both identical. You can do it either way because those are both true statements. There's 12 inches for every 1 foot, or there's 1 foot for every 12 inches. It's just like the conversion factor. I can either read it 12 inches equals 1 foot or 1 foot equals 12 inches. It doesn't matter which way I read it. It's a true statement. So for feet and yards, you have 1 yard for every 3 feet, or there's 3 feet for every 1 yard. Now, you'll see in just a moment why we write them both ways, because you don't know which of these you're going to need until you get to the specific problem that you're dealing with. All right, so how do you do this? Next, you begin by writing an equation. And the way you do this, and use the width of your paper because you don't know how many of these conversion ratios you're going to need. So first, you place what the problem is trying to find on the far right. So in this case, it's trying to find how many inches. We're trying to find some number of inches. You put that way over on the right-hand side of your paper. Number two, you place what you're given at the start to start with on the left side. So we're given 1 yard to start with. So that goes way over on the left. So all we're doing is building an equation here. And then you place multiplications of the conversion factors to find the answer. So this problem wants to find some number of inches. The problem gives you 1 yard to start. So what you see down on the bottom is you have a yard on the left, 1 yard on the left, question mark inches, some number of inches that you're trying to find on the right, and you're going to fill that box there with conversion ratios to do that. So let's go ahead and do this one. Okay, so we have these choices, either 12 inches for every 1 foot or 1 foot for every 12 inches, and 1 yard for every 3 feet or 3 feet for every 1 yard. So here's how you choose them. You're starting off with a yard. So you need the one, and there's only one up there that has yards on the bottom because you want yard to cancel with yard. So since you have 1 yard, yards on the top, you need yard on the bottom, and there's only one of the 4 conversion ratios up there that has yards over yards that would fit that. And that's the one that says 3 feet for every 1 yard. So that's the one you write. Finally, the next one is you start from the other side. We're looking for inches. So we need to have inches in our numerator on the top of our final conversion ratio. And there's only one of those 4 ratios that has inches on the top. That's 12 inches for every 1 foot. So we put that in there. So our equation looks like this: 1 yard times 3 feet for every 1 yard times 12 inches for every foot equals some number of inches. Okay, so what we then do is we notice that yards and yards on the left cancel out. On the right, we notice that inches appears on the top, so that's going to be our final unit of measure in the final answer. And then if you look at the middle, you'll notice that feet cancels with feet. Feet on the top on the left cancels with feet on the bottom. So yards and feet are going to both cancel out. And the only thing you're going to have left is inches. So if you look down at the bottom, I cancel the yards, 1 yard, I cancel yard. Don't cancel any numbers at this point, by the way, only units of measure. And then I cancel yard on the bottom. Now what about feet? Well, you got feet on the top, and that cancels with feet on the bottom. So yards and feet have all canceled out, and the only thing we have left is inches, and that means that's going to be the final unit of measure in our answer. But we're still not done with the problem. What we have to do now is, since we know the units of measure line up properly to give us inches in the end, we now do the math. So you multiply everything on the top and divide it by everything on the bottom. So it's going to be 1 times 3 times 12 divided by 1 divided by 1. So just to keep it simple, it's just 3 times 12. Okay, so the units cancel properly because yards and feet cancel, and you're left with only inches, and that's what the problem asks for. So we can now do the math, and the answer is 36 inches. Okay, now we're going to do, this is a silly little problem to demonstrate that you don't need to understand the problem to use dimensional analysis, and that's what makes it so powerful. It can help you solve chemistry problems that you really don't feel like you understand completely, but if you know how to manipulate the units of measure, you can do it. So our question asks, how many Nadia are 2.4 Kyle? And I give you 5 conversion factors down below. So there's 4 Kyle equals 2 Litzy. So what does that mean? That means we can write a ratio of 4 Kyle over 2 Litzy, or 2 Litzy over 4 Kyle. The next one is 3 Litzy equals 5 Kenny. So we can write a conversion ratio of 3 Litzy over 5 Kenny, or 5 Kenny over 3 Litzy. And we can continue to do that for the others as well. So you can end up with 10 possible ratios, and then your job is to pick out which one you need to solve this problem. So there you go. You start with 2.4 Kyle. That's what you're given. You put that way over on the left. You're trying to find how many Nadia. So that's a question mark. You put that way over on the right, and now you're going to build the equation in between. And this is what it looks like. Notice that the first conversion we use on the left is 2 Litzy for every 4 Kyle. So you notice that Kyle is going to cancel with Kyle. If we go way over on the right, then we have 2 Nadia on the top, and that's going to be our final answer. And you'll notice that everything else cancels in between. So Kyle cancels with Kyle, Litzy cancels with Litzy, Kenny cancels with Kenny, Diana cancels with Diana, Richie cancels with Richie, and the only thing left is Nadia, and that's going to be the unit of our final answer. So now we know we have everything set up properly, we can go ahead and do the math. So it's going to be 2.4 times 2 times 5 times 2 times 2 times 2, that's all the numbers on the top, divided by 3, divided by 8, divided by 1, divided by 3, divided by 4. I went backwards on that one. So that's all the numbers on the bottom. It doesn't matter what order you do those in. So that's going to give us our answer. And there you go. It shows that Nadia ends up as the final unit. Okay, and if you do the math on this, you get an answer that 2.4 Kyle is equal to 0.67 Nadia. And that's how you use dimensional analysis to set up a problem. We will do a lot of these in class tomorrow. So here's kind of a fun one that my students have liked in the past. Usain Bolt holds the world record in the 100-meter dash with a time of 9.58 seconds. What was Bolt's average speed in miles per hour? So what you've got is you've got to convert meters into miles, and you've got to convert seconds into hours. You're given meters, you got to come up with miles. You're given seconds, you got to come up with hours. And I give you 6 conversions, you got to use all 6 of them. So what you should do is write the 2 conversion ratios for each of those 6. So you'll have 12 in all, and then figure out which ones you put in which order. And the order really doesn't matter. Multiplication you can do in any order, but you should do it in a logical order so that it cancels with the one next to it. And then that will give you your final answer at the end. So give that a try, see if you can do it tonight. If not, we'll do this one in class tomorrow. Okay, so your other assignment is to fill out that purple sheet for the classification of matter. It asks you for some definitions. What is a solution? What is a colloid? I think what is an emulsion is on that sheet. I don't have it in front of me. But you want to answer those questions. Just read the sheet. It's not very much to read. And answer those questions. Maybe you go online or in your textbook. Though this subject is in the fairly soon in the very first chapter. So if you look at chapter 1 and just page through you'll find that this subject of classification of matter is there. Okay, so do that tonight, and we'll see you in class tomorrow. Have a good evening. Bless you.